stick around. Today we're going to be herbing your enthusiasm with some Italian herb-style chicken.
Hi, I'm not a chef. I'm not even really a cook. I'm just someone who likes good food, the kind that doesn't take a million steps and doesn't break the bank, and it won't make you cry in the kitchen, unless it's from the onions. The only degrees that matter to me are Fahrenheit and Celsius. I found ways to make the kind of meals I want to eat and without all the stress, and now I just want to share that with you. So if you're hungry, curious, and just tired of overcomplicated recipes, you're in the right place. Welcome to The Casual Culinary.
Welcome back, casual chefs. Today we're making Italian herbed chicken. Something really good, again, really easy to make. So far I have about 4 to 6 chicken thighs, and I'm going to talk about the different parts of chicken you can use if you want, but I have about 4 to 6 chicken thighs that I've got sitting out for about an hour. Again, you want to bring your meat or whatever it is you're cooking to room temperature, or else again, the outside cooks too fast and the inside may not get done. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how we're going to season this and get it going. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this recipe and how I came to like it so much. First, I'm going to glove up so that we can handle the raw chicken. All right, so we're all gloved up and ready to handle the chicken. So again, the chicken's been out for about an hour. It's kind of coming to room temperature. There's some liquid in there you might see, right? That's all the yucky stuff from the chicken itself and the packaging. But we're going to go ahead and give it a little towel off before we give it a season. So we just want to kind of dab this stuff, get what's underneath it. But again, some of that moisture is okay because it's going to draw in the rub that we're going to use, or the seasoning that we're going to put on the chicken. So I'm just going to kind of dab it. I'm also trying to keep my left hand free so that I can use it. So far I have not touched the chicken with that one, so it just gives me another opportunity. Once you start touching both, you're going to have to keep cleaning before you can start touching other things. All right. So I've gone ahead and dabbed it, gonna toss that in the trash, okay? And then behind here, I've got some avocado oil. Again, you don't need to overdo the avocado oil. I just like it a little crisper, and sometimes that's kind of good. You could probably use olive oil, but avocado oil has a higher cooking temperature and burning point, so I like to use avocado oil, especially when I'm cooking things at high heat. And this is gonna cook around 375 today. So I'm just gonna put that in that oil, massage it around. Now, I call this Italian herbed chicken because we're going to use Italian seasoning, and we're also going to use garlic salt. Now, what does that have to do with Italian? I don't know. When I think Italian, I always think of garlic, but those are the big parts of the seasoning that we're going to be putting on the chicken today. Now, how did I get started on this particular recipe? So when I grew up, I had a next door neighbor friend, and his mom always cooked these foods that I had never had. I got used to what my mom cooked. My mom was actually a really good cook, but it's just I got used to having the same thing all the time. So you'd go over to a friend's house and it was like, oh, what is this? I've never tried this before. And so I went over to his house and we had this chicken, and it was so good that I came back and told my mom, hey, I went over to my friend's house, I had this chicken, and just said, can you make it? Thinking there's some global recipe book that, you know, everybody has everybody's recipes, which obviously is not a thing. So my mom had to call his mom and figure this whole thing out. It turns out it's incredibly simple. So she started making it, my mom did, and this thing was so good that the whole family liked it. And it was so simple that she kept making it. So even at a very young age, this has been kind of a staple of my family that we've had for decades at this point. So it's really easy. So as you've seen, I put on just a little bit of the garlic salt, a little bit of the Italian seasoning. Okay, kind of giving it a little pat down again, and we have to make sure we get both sides. I'm going to want to get this one a little bit more. I don't feel it got enough of the garlic salt. You can season, I'm going to say season moderately, because too much and it's going to get too salty. Chicken is going to shrink up as we cook it. Every single bite you're getting is getting a lot of seasoning compared to a thick cut of meat where you might put a little more seasoning on it because you know that every bite's going to be getting a lot of meat that's not covered in seasoning. So we've done the front side. I massaged that in. I'm going to flip it over and do the back side again. I'm not including measurements. I will put in the recipe what I think are estimated measurements, but like I said, moderately to taste. But I'm probably putting about maybe 1/4 to 1/2 a teaspoon of the garlic salt on each thigh. And that's what I'm cooking with today. I really like chicken thighs. I just think that they're much more flavorful. They're a little more forgiving as far as cooking time, where even if they go over by a little bit, they don't dry out as much. So probably about a quarter to a half a teaspoon. Kinders, and again, I'm using Kinders. If you've watched my prior video, you know I like Kinders. So again, not sponsored by them, but Kinders, if you're watching, feel free. I love your products. Send me some. And then I'm just using whole Italian seasoning. You should be able to get either any type of garlic salt or any type of Italian seasoning in any grocery store. So nothing new there. All of those should be able to be found pretty easily. You don't really get a lot of the Italian seasoning flavor. So I'm kind of putting maybe a quarter to a half a teaspoon on that. But again, I'll zoom in on one of the cameras so that you can see what it's looking like. I'm going to pat that in so that it's there. But I like it with a little more of the garlic salt maybe than some people. I just like the salty flavor, but I don't want you to over salt your meat. All right, and then you want to let that sit in and rest for maybe, 10, 15 minutes. Just kind of let it get into the chicken, kind of dry marinade for a little bit. And then we're going to put this on a grill. I'll talk about the way we grill it in a minute as to what I'm using, but we're going to let it sit for about 15 minutes. And I'm going to get cleaned up from touching the chicken, and then I'll meet you back, and we'll talk about how it's going to cook. All right, so it's been about 10 or 15 minutes, and we've been letting our dry marinade set in on that chicken. So there's many ways that I've seen this recipe done. The original person that I borrowed it from took what was called the best of fryer chicken, where you can go to the grocery store and get a whole chicken that's already been pre-butchered and cut up, bone in, skin on, and they put it on a cold grill and just let it sit and kind of cook indirectly for about an hour and a half to 2 hours till you reach that internal temperature of 165 degrees. It's hard to find a best of the fryer anymore now. So the alternative is that you could find what's called a whole young chicken. That's basically like what you see at the rotisserie chickens when you go to Costco or Albertsons or Smart & Final. And you can cook it that way with the seasoning and then butcher it after you've cooked the chicken. But again, that's a little too high skill for what we're going for on the casual culinary. I want to try to get to the simple, easy way of doing things. So I'm going with boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And you can just use a gas grill or a pellet grill to get this cooked. You could even use an air fryer if you wanted to. But I'm going with the directions that I'm going to use for the pellet grill. Now, we're not smoking it. Just because it's cooking with wood doesn't mean we're smoking. We're going to bring it up to a high temperature, around 350 to 375, and it's going to take about 45 minutes to cook. We're going to flip it halfway through. But if you're cooking it on a grill, a gas grill, you would definitely want to cook it at 350, maybe keep an eye on it. You're definitely going to need to flip it over. And again, you could cook it more on the indirect side where you're using it to bake. You could throw this in an oven and bake it as well at 350, but I just feel the wood flavoring that comes from the wood chips are going to be what's the best. And I use my Traeger, again, not sponsored by Traeger, just have a really good Traeger that I've used for years and like that. But I'll include a link wherever I choose to put that shows the pellets that I use. But it's a gourmet blend that kind of combines a bunch of different pellets and flavors. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the pellet grill started. I'm just going to heat it up to, I'm going to go with 375. So turn it on the smoke, probably give it about 10-15 minutes so that we can get this thing up to temp. And then we're going to put the chicken on. There it is, nice and smoky. And we're going to crank that up to 375. All right, we are rolling on the pellet grill at 375 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and get it on. Let's open her up and get the chicken on. Oh, listen to the sizzle. And that sizzle is because we put some of that avocado oil on there. Now keep in mind, this doesn't have skin on. Skin on is great. I'm a big fan of skin on. But most of the skin on stuff that I've been buying, the skin is either too fatty and I have to cut a bunch off, or it's real chewy. So unless I'm going to a grocery store that has a really good high quality of chicken, I've just realized that I'm good with the skinless is fine for me. But if you're a skin on person and you have a good place where you get quality chicken, go for it, because that crispiness is going to be so good. All right, so we've got this on 375, and we're just going to let that roll for about 35 minutes to 45 minutes. I'll come back and temp it to see where we're at. Okay, we're going to go in and check and see. It's been about 37 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stick it into the thickest part, and it looks like it's at about 167. So we overshot it by a little bit, but that'll be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out a new pan over here. All right, so let's go ahead and get this out of the Traeger, the pellet grill. I've switched pans, so we're dealing with a clean pan. Threw the other one away. We're gonna let the chicken rest for, again, 7 to 10 minutes is probably a good amount. The longer you let it rest, typically, the more juicy it's gonna be, because we're not gonna let those flavors and juices come out. So we're just gonna leave it there for a minute. As you can see, not sure which camera I'm going towards, but it's looking pretty good. Letting it sit out there. And in 10 minutes, we'll be back. All right, it's been 10 minutes, and I just can't wait to get into the bite. You can see how juicy this is. You can see the juices underneath there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a taste. Again, I like chicken thighs. You can do whatever you want. You can do breasts, you can do legs. Crispy skin is great, but I just find thighs is very forgiving with those juices. So I'm just gonna use my knife and show you what that is looking like. Nice and juicy. If I were to squeeze that in there, you would see the juice. It's coming out. Okay, but so good. Let's cut a little piece off there. You cannot go wrong with this. The garlic, the Italian herb. Not only can this be good as just chicken, you can put this on top of pasta with any other type of sauce that you would want. It would still be good. You could put this, chop it up, put it into a salad, and use it with chicken salad as extra flavor as well. I mean, this is just a very good recipe on its own or with something else. This is really good. I hope you give this a try. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Comment. Let us know whether you like this, whether you tried it yourself, or if there's any other chicken recipes that you've tried that you think are good that I should look into. I hope you had a good time. I did. Thanks for cooking with us, and I'll see you again next time. And until then, keep it casual.